Hello everyone, this is Tammy. Today I'd like to show you some of the advanced Cricut features. So let's get started. The first key I'm going to show you is the fit to length, and it is right here, right in the center. So I'm going to hit the fit to length. Now what I'm going to be cutting out is this scallop in the Plate and School book. And if you can see it, it's right here. Now, normally, I would be holding my book here because this is how I judge how big to set my dial on. Like, I would probably set that on maybe 1 inch or 3/4 of an inch. That would be how big I'd want my scallop. No matter how long I cut my scallop, it has 1, 2, 3, just 5 scallops in it. But when I have my fit to length on, it changes the dial right over here, the dial, and that's what measures this way, the length instead of the height. Okay, so that totally changes that dial. Now, for the length, I'd like to place it on maybe a 5.5 inch card. So I will set mine at 5.5 inch, and that's what I have it set on. It's fit to length, and then I'm going to press that key, and it is right here. So I'm going to cut that out and show you how that looks with the fit to length on. Okay, I cut that out, and this is my scallop. Now, when I pressed cut, because of the fit to length, it does tell me the height it's going to calculate. It calculates it and tells me, and it was 3/4 of an inch. But this does not quite measure 5.5. It's about 5. And the reason is it kind of calculates to the nearest increment that it can cut this out, and being there's 5 scallops, that must be the size that it can cut out. So I've used this many times on a card. It looks really nice. So that's fit to length. And remember, basically it just changes your dial size to the length instead of the height. Okay, next one up. Fit to page is the next one we're going to do, and we press that. Now, you can use fit to page on any size paper, but this is the trick to fit to page. Basically, I would be cutting out one of the wild cards. This is the wild card handbook, page 49. It could be any of them. What you want to do is, if you would like to cut the biggest you could cut out, either on an 8.5 by 11, you just have to set paper size, or a 12 by 12 sheet, you always cut out the biggest image. And when I have fit to page on, it disregards my dial size. I have 5.5 on my dial still. It disregards it, and it's going to do fit to page. So I don't want to cut the card out fit to page if I still want to get an envelope on this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to press the shift key, and that key would be right here. And it's the envelope. Okay, we'll wait till that comes up. Now, once I hit cut, it will tell me the size that it's going to cut it out at. And remember, it disregards what's on the dial. Anything could be on the dial. But if you want to layer, if you're doing a layering thing, or you want to cut the card that size and all the layers for the card here and here so that it all fits together, you want to cut everything out the same size. So that's the trick to get the biggest card you can on a 12 by 12 sheet, is cutting out the envelope first. And we will see the size that comes up in the window. And let's press cut, and it's calculating. It's going to be 6.25. Now I'm going to hit stop. I'll cut that out. But everything I do has to be 6.25. So I can get a 6.25, and that would be measured. The card would be 6.25 inches this way. And then everything else would layer, cut out at 6.25. So that's fit to page. The next key I'm going to show is the mix and match key. and that is located right up here, center top. Now, I really like using the mix and match key. This is when you would use it. When you want to cut out the same color of things, and they are on different creative feature keys. And maybe you have a piece of black paper here and a piece of red over here. That would be a good time to use it. Now, I use it for paper dolls a lot. The wild card I use it for. And I use it for cutting out words if I want to make the first letter different a lot of times. Now, this is some of the keys. You cannot cut different sizes. You have to have your size on the same size for all letters. But you can use different creative feature keys. And you can only do that in one cutting with the mix and match on. And the key is you have to press your key first, then your creative feature key. So I want to do something like, let's cut out a word. I'm going to cut out the word hello, and I'm going to cut the E out in another color. So we're only going to cut out the things that I want to cut out in the white, okay? Now, I have my mix and match key on. I want to cut out a capital H in the roly-poly. So, remember we hit your key first. I'm going to hit Shift and hit the H. Now I hit my creative feature key, which is roly-poly. So I'm going to hit it there. Okay, now I don't want to cut out the E. I want that in another color. So I'm going to cut out the LLO. So now I want to hit the L. Now, for the L, the creative feature key, there isn't one. It is going to be the base. This is the H, but the L, it's going to be the base. So I have to take that off, and when there's no creative feature key, it's going to cut out the base. And I need another one. And again, remember you hit the key, then the creative feature key. It's going to be the same, so I don't have to change it. And O. Okay, now, remember everything has to be cut the same size. I don't want to cut these at 5.5. I just want to cut them at 1 inch. So remember, we can't on a cutting change the size. So I'll cut them at 1 inch, and I'll press cut. Okay, here are my cuts. There's the roly-poly H and the base LLO, and then I did another E in red. So that's how easy that is. But if I hadn't told the Cricut that these were no creative feature key, it would have cut them out all roly-poly. So it's kind of nice when you're cutting like hair for one of those paper dolls, and you're cutting maybe black shoes, black hair, a few things. It's kind of nice to be able to use the mix and match. So there's mix and match. The next key I'd like to use is the center point, and that is located right here. Whoop, it's the second one over. Okay, basically I use this for photos, and I use it for pattern paper when I want to center like I have a flower or some kind of, here I have a paisley design that I like to get something centered on, and that's when I basically use it. Now I'm going to show portrait next, but center point only works in the landscape, the default setting. It does not work in portrait, just to let you know. Now you use your navigation buttons to kind of move it and kind of center it over the design. Sometimes what I'll do for a photo, say I want to cut it in a heart shape or a circle or an oval, I'll cut the oval the size I want and kind of lay it on the picture to see exactly if that size would be good. But we're just going to use a Platon school book, and I'm going to cut out these tags. They're on page 78, and I'm just going to cut one of those out. And let's see, the key is, let's see, right here. And let's cut that out about 3 inches. And I have my center point on, and that's approximately where I want to cut that. Okay, and I just press cut. Okay, I just wanted a lot of the design. I didn't want any of the background, and so let's see how it looks. Oh yes, cut out nice. So I got a lot of the design. That's some of the reasons you would use your center point. The next mode is the portrait mode. And I've already loaded my paper. The portrait mode runs a little bit different. It's kind of different. When you're, right now I'm going to show you on a 12 by 12 sheet, then I'll show you on one that's not a 12 by 12 sheet. But this is what happens. Basically, you're supposed to hit portrait mode before you even load, because look what it does. I have my paper loaded, and I'm going to put it on portrait mode. It unloads it for me. So it's on portrait mode, and I need to load it back up. And with portrait mode, it changes the cutting direction from landscape. Now, the blade starts at the top, like you're writing, left-hand corner. When it's in the landscape, your default, it starts at the top, right corner, and goes down the right side. So that's what portrait does. And there's things that you'd want to cut out in portrait mode. You'd want the images to go, start from the top. And I have used it, but I don't use this one a lot. Now, when you're using portrait mode on a sheet of paper or a mat that is less than a 12 by 12 sheet of paper on your mat, you always put it in the right corner instead of the left corner when you're setting paper size. It's a little bit different. And remember, you have to have your portrait mode on before you load, or you'll just have to unload. Now, it takes it over there. You can't set paper size, but this is what you do. You move your blade with your navigation over to the edge of your paper, okay, and then you press what you want to cut, and I'm going to cut a little tag out, and see how it cuts it out on the portrait mode. Oh, my paper moved off a little. Okay, but as you see how it cut it out? Okay, so that is the portrait mode.